Hello, and welcome to Roly Poly Weight Loss. I'm your host, Roly Poly. It is a Monday, so it is scale time. Okay. Okay. 270.6. So that is back up slightly, which is okay. I certainly don't expect it to go down every single week. And it's only up by 0.6, not like 2 pounds. So that's a yay. And that is well within what I expect, fluctuation week to week. So not worried. Yeah, so yeah, good. Okay. All right, let's get this going. Okay, warm up. Okay, so this week I've got another two-parter, and this is because I actually was surprised to find more than I expected when I went to do the research. So I intended to talk about setting goals and motivating yourself. And I found all of this psychological stuff to back it up, which I really want to share. So today we're covering motivation and where your goals come from. Okay? So to start with, we're going to get a little deep into the psychology side, but stick with me. So, Web Psychology has a really interesting article on this, and they say, losing weight is one of the most difficult human undertakings. Why? Because it requires a lifelong commitment to healthy eating and exercise habits, and sustaining motivation is incredibly hard. Which, I'll be honest, is like a little validating. Yeah, see, I told you this was hard. There's proof. And they bring up some points that I think a lot of people don't think about. When people quit smoking or give up drugs or alcohol, they go through an agonizing withdrawal phase. But eventually, they learn to manage life without their substance. A former smoker knows exactly how many cigarettes she can have every day. 0. Weight loss is different because food never goes away. Rather than giving up food the way an addict gives up alcohol, you have to make constant decisions about eating, sometimes without even having adequate information about the foods in front of you. So this is something that I learned when I tried OA, which I will get into later. That's Overeaters Anonymous. But it's true. And it's really hard. We will always have to deal with food. But it isn't just food. There's an exercise component too. So Web Psychology continues. Exercise, the other half of the weight loss equation, also requires constant motivation. Recovering addicts need to form some new habits to replace old triggers. But for the most part, abstaining from smoking, drugs, or alcohol is a question of not doing things. Exercise is a question of doing something. You have to continuously find time for it in your schedule and find options for working out when it's raining or when your workout buddy lets you down or if you're injured. You need intense levels of motivation to sustain an exercise routine. An exercise regimen. Blech. So, that follows into a lot of what we were talking about with routines, that this exercise routine is something you have to work at fitting in, at increasing, at making adjustments for. And that's hard. I mean, it just is. And they also warn to be wary of your triggers. Triggers are the things that can basically screw it up for you. Triggers are emotions, foods, environments, or situations that cause you to fall off the wagon. Dinner out with friends may be a trigger for overindulging, while rainy days might trigger you to skip workouts. And that pretty neatly sums up why all this is so hard. And as I said before, I've been a yo-yo dieter. I've gone up and down and up and down. So I've been there when the best of intentions run up against these roadblocks and triggers and send me tumbling back into unhealthy habits and weight gain. I've been there. So, like I said before, hearing it said, you know, like psychology proves it, is a little validating. Like, I'm not a failure. I just am trying something really hard. And there will be ups and downs. Psychology Today, in their 3-part article on motivation, took them 3 whole parts, adds their own twist by referencing this quote from Mark Twain. The only way to keep your health is to eat what you don't want, drink what you don't like, and do what you'd rather not. Now, we all love a good Mark Twain quote, right? And this seems both funny and true. You know, there is a lot of, I don't want to eat broccoli or kale, and a lot of, I don't want to exercise, and a lot of, but I want to drink soda. So yeah, makes sense. But Psychology Today extrapolates a bit. Twain's statement represents the traditional approach to dieting and fitness, that to lose weight is to be miserable. We diet, we exercise, we might even lose weight. But we turn into woeful, glum little souls, so we don't keep up the diet. We tell ourselves, or worse, we hear it from others, friends, family, teachers, doctors, coworkers, that you're just not motivated. Well, again, that sounds very familiar. I've been on that miserable side of hating what I'm eating and constantly feeling hungry and trying to fit in exercise and feeling miserable the whole time, especially when it doesn't work or it doesn't work fast enough. Okay? There's a whole another day's worth on unrealistic expectations. But, so these 2 articles seem to get it. They get what we're going through and how it can be so hard. So now, I'm sure you're saying, because I was saying, tell us how to fix it. How do we stay motivated? How do we keep from being glum, woeful little souls? How do we maintain this long term? Well, first of all, Psychology Today has some groundbreaking news. At least I thought it was groundbreaking. It was to me. A recent meta-analysis study in the Journal of the American Medical Association looked at different weight loss plans and found no significant difference between the success of one program versus another. It came down to the individual's motivation to stay with the program that made all the difference. The question isn't which diet or fitness plan is the best. It is really what is the best program for you so that you can stick with it and make lifestyle changes. Okay, so that to me, mind-blowing. You know, so I don't have to eat only kale or do the Stairmaster, which I hate, or cut 17 different things out of my diet. This is fantastic news. And really, it makes sense. There are so many just name brand things out there. Groups like Weight Watchers, Jenny Craig, Biggest Loser, and so many diets. I mean, Atkins, gluten-free, Mediterranean, juicing, low-fat, low-carb, high-fat, high-carb, low sugar, high sugar, everything. I mean, there are a billion options, and all of them have success stories. So, but they can't all be right? Well, that's what makes this new research, it makes so much sense. These different plans work for different people. If you are actually like dying on a low-carb diet, then that clearly isn't the one for you. But it is for someone else. But there is a one out there for you. You just have to find it. So that, to me, was just groundbreaking and amazing news. because I've tried some of these diets and I've been appropriately miserable. And now I know isn't that I am bad at dieting or I fail or I'm weak. It's because I just have to find the right one. Which is like, oh. So Psychology Today explains it really well. What most articles on exercise or weight loss do not cover is the power of working from one's own personality, unique style, and what is important to the individual. These psychological factors are a huge set of resources that can make all the difference in your health journey. They provide you with intrinsic motivation, doing something because you are interested in it, value it, and enjoy doing it. And as new science tells us, it makes all of the difference between just dieting versus successful weight loss and maintenance. Okay? And it makes sense. If you hate jogging, then an all jogging exercise plan will make you miserable. But if you love dancing, then going out and dancing a few times a week won't feel like exercise, but like doing something you love, and you're still being active. So, again, mind-blowing. Now, let's talk motivation. According to Psychology Today, this is actually really important. In 1996, a team of scientists from the Departments of Psychology and Medicine at the University of Rochester, New York, wanted to investigate motivation and weight loss. The researchers found that the type of motivation the participants had significantly affected how much weight was lost. So when it comes to types, there's two ways to look at it. Web psychology references Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which you may or may not be familiar with. The basic idea is that at the bottom are your primal biological needs, food, water, air. You prioritize them. Other things higher up the pyramid, you can only consider when the lower stuff is taken care of. It's why we generally care more about breathing than, say, friends, or how we need water more than creativity to survive. Now, this isn't to say what we want, but what we need for survival. So why is this relevant? Well, web psychology explains, food is listed at the bottom of the pyramid, where the most powerful motivators are, but we eat to satisfy other needs as well. If your doctor told you that if you don't lose weight this week, you will die, weight loss would become a physiological need. Most of us want to be healthy, but unless we have pressing health issues related to obesity, our motivations come in the love, belonging, and esteem areas of the pyramid. So food is a need at the bottom, most crucial part of the pyramid. Motivation to lose weight, generally speaking, comes from higher parts, and therefore is easier to dismiss for more pressing concerns. This is perfectly why when I got a new job that was stressful, I didn't have time to exercise, because making money to keep a roof over my head and to keep food in the apartment and to keep water flowing and all those other things was more important than I would like to be thinner for esteem issues. So what you need to do is make your motivation feel more powerful. So they suggest, once you know what your primary motivators are, create powerful images in your mind that relate to them. Choose an image that will keep you focused and return to it often. So you're basically, by force of will, moving your motivators from up here on the pyramid to down here on the pyramid, closer to where food and breathing and water is. So that makes sense, and that's one way to look at it. Psychology Today breaks motivation down a little differently. They break it into 4 kinds: external, introjected, identified, and intrinsic. So external is, I feel like I have no choice. Losing weight is not entirely your decision. You feel that you have to do this because someone, like your partner or your doctor, insisted. You're driven by either rewards or punishment. Okay? And then introjected is, I would feel bad about myself if I did not. So your reason to lose weight is only partly endorsed by you. Although you have chosen to lose weight, you're doing it to avoid feeling guilt or your ego is involved. Identified is, it feels important to me personally to accomplish this goal. So you decide to lose weight because it's valued by you. You have a positive view of your choice to lose weight. And finally, intrinsic is, it is a challenge to accomplish my goal because it is fun. Your motive to be healthy is done for its own sake because you value being healthy. You eat healthy and engage in some sort of physical activity for the pleasure of the activity. So there's that dancing versus jogging thing again. So Mark Twain there, and often us, are stuck up in external or introjected motivation. We feel we have to do this because of health or guilt or shame or society or whatever. And these aren't great long-term motivators, it turns out. Obviously, these aren't as powerful as the other two. Psychology Today says, research has shown that these types of motivation are internally driven, meaning you feel that you have real choices and the origin of your decision comes from you. Study after study is showing just how crucial identified and intrinsic motivation is to the efficacy and maintenance of a weight loss or exercise program. So, again, those second two, the last two, intrinsic and identified, those are the ones that are more powerful, okay? And in studies, they found that participants whose reasons for weight loss were more closely integrated with their sense of self and their values had more powerful and driving reasons for them to attend the program, which gave them a significant advantage in losing weight and being able to maintain it. So, kind of roughly summed up, it's the difference between losing weight so you can attend a reunion and show off, and losing weight so that you will be alive for your kid's graduation. One of them is very externally motivated. I want to look pretty at my reunion and shove it in some people's faces. And one of them is much more powerful, like tied to your kids, very internal. So, and there's more. In this study, they also looked at the people around you. So your Weight Watcher group or your trainer at the gym or whatever, even your family and friends. The people who are supposed to be helping you lose weight. And it turns out that the perceived autonomy supportiveness of the environment made a difference for the person losing weight. So, to break that down into English, places and people that were perceived as being more supportive of your autonomous internal motivation were more helpful. So places that it seemed like were just pushing those external, when you see those posts on Tumblr where it's like the trainer saying yeah, working out might hurt, but being at the beach wearing a shirt this summer hurts more. That is purely external motivation. And if somebody's yelling that at you, that is not really supportive. They obviously do not care about your internal why you are doing this. So people who actually were perceived as being supportive of your internal motivation, as opposed to just being focused on that external, helped people lose weight. So who's around you is important too. So, since this 1996 study that we talked about earlier, there have been follow-up studies, adjust here, looking at which is more powerful for long-term weight loss, and the results are amazing. So, in a study that helped participants for 1 year, so it worked with them for a year, they found that increasing identified and intrinsic forms of motivation predicted weight loss maintenance for 3 years. Okay, so 1 year of work and changing your goals resulted in 4 years of maintenance, the year and then the 3 after. Okay, that's amazing. And in another study that put participants through a 4-month course, the scientists found that changes in intrinsic motivation That is increases in enjoyment and interest to be the best predictor of 16-month weight changes. So again, over a year, that's 20 months total. It's almost 2 years. So finding that internal motivation can result in you maintaining your program for months or years longer. Maybe even that mythical forever. So now, the big question. How do we do this? How do we find the right motivation and keep it up? Well, Web Psychology has a few suggestions to set yourself up for success. A goal of losing 40 pounds is admirable, but breaking it into smaller pieces will help you stay focused. So set small goals, not just big ones. This goes back to when I talked about goal clothes. Don't just aim for the size 12s, but aim for every size in between. Celebrate the 22, the 20, the 18. Celebrate each one. And they also suggest that the best short-term goals to aim for and celebrate might be action-oriented rather than results-oriented. In other words, focus on what you need to do, celebrate your progress in that realm, and let your body respond to your actions when it's ready. Short-term action goals might include things like joining a health club, giving up soda, or putting together a rotation of healthy breakfasts. So, the idea is to focus on actions instead of results. This, it turns out, is what we were already kind of doing. Go us! By going slow and steady and focusing on new routines and changes, we are doing this. We started with adding exercise. Then we looked at sleep. We're going to hit food in the future. We're going to talk about stress. The goals I've been working towards have been making changes to life and routine, not hitting certain weight goals. Okay? And, we saw that this morning. Coincidentally, I was losing weight, but today I went up slightly. But that's okay because my goal for this week was not to drop 2 pounds. My goal was, hey, come back and exercise again every day. Or every 3 days, 3 days a week, and to walk every day. So, looking at those action-oriented things instead of results-oriented. And Web Psychology also circles back to triggers. Set yourself up for success by listing as many of your own triggers as you can think of and create strategies to help you face them in advance. Be sure to give yourself a pat on the back anytime you've resisted your triggers. Celebrating your successes will help you stay motivated. So again, this is an action that you can take to help yourself in advance, like going slow and steady. I encountered this last week when it was raining so much that Rolly Mama and I couldn't do our No Zero Day May walk outside. So we got ourselves active inside the house. There was a trigger. It was raining. There was no good gap coming anytime when we were able to do it. We could have been like, cool down. We could have been like, oh well. But no, we didn't. We just were like, okay, well, what can we do? We'll walk inside the house. So look at those ways that you can kind of preemptively anticipate stuff that'll knock you down. And there's that celebration advice again. Celebrate the small victories. Don't just keep waiting for big ones. Okay? And Psychology Today backs this up. Though long term, you're looking for intrinsic motivation, extrinsic motivation isn't bad, they say. Studies such as this show that external or introjected motivation can produce results, but only in the short term. And as we know, weight loss is a long-term problem. It's okay to have extrinsic motivation as long as you are not operating only on extrinsic motivation. So again, celebrate those small victories early. Give yourself those small rewards at the beginning to help you stay motivated in the short term, as long as you're also working on your long-term intrinsic motivations as well, okay? Things like, I talk about all the time, I'm motivated by shiny little things. Things like keeping your plant alive to make sure you drink your water, or getting your stars for meditating, or getting your little shiny green Fitbit at the end of the day. Any of those small extrinsic motivators that keep you interested long enough for your intrinsic motivation to really, be fully developed and to really be established are great to keep you going at the beginning. Okay? So don't just rule them out entirely. Just be aware that they're not the be-all and end-all. And if you really want the long term, you've got to put in that work on the intrinsic. No, we're done. So that is it for today. Like I said, this is a meaty topic, and I'm continuing it on Wednesday. But this is the first half, okay? And I really found all of the psychological stuff behind it really interesting, so I wanted to share. So, this has been Roly Poly Weight Loss. As always, I am your host, Roly Poly. Please share your motivations, both intrinsic and extrinsic, with the hashtag motivation. And know that these can change as you change. Okay? And please join me next time.